a video on these Choco Hoops. So I use these Choco Hoops in a cake mixture to make a Biscotti type of thing. What? So this is not going to be a short video, is it? No. The idea was that when I make Christmas cakes, I sometimes use them as a bit of a dumping ground for things that are in the cupboards. Now, last year, I decided that what you could do is we could add some Christmas pudding, leftover Christmas pudding, in as part of the fruit mixture in a Christmas cake, and it worked. I got the idea from Fat Rascal, which is the bakers in the past would take the older, staler cakes that they hadn't sold the day before and crumble them up and recombine them, add a bit more fruit and a bit more cake mixture and make like a scone type of thing. And then those type of things kind of sparked my imagination, and I kind of thought, well, I've got these free Choco Hoops, so what we'll do is we'll use these in a cake and kind of see what happens. And it worked out kind of quite well, but these are a bit hard, so when you sliced through them, it was they were a little bit hard compared to the cake. So whereas I kind of thought what would happen is I thought that the cake would soften them down, and I suppose it would do over time if you were to leave. I dried it out I cut the cake up and dried it out kind of quite quickly into biscotti. But I suppose if you left the cake in a cake tin slowly over time, what would happen was the Choco Hoops would get softer and the cake would get harder because they would want to get to the same moisture content if it was left. But I didn't really want to have to do that. But then it kind of dawned on me that what we really should have done was I should have mixed the Choco Hoops into the cake mixture and allowed it to sit for a couple of hours, so the Choco Hoops got time to soften before we baked. So that's what we're going to do today, and we need to measure and weigh the Choco Hoops. So it's a 4-egg cake mixture, and then we need to weigh out these Choco Hoops. So it's the basic cake recipe, so it's 4 ounces of fat, 4 ounces of sugar, 4 ounces of flour, and 2 eggs, so 4, 4, 4, 2. So we'll have to do this, we'll have to weigh this in ounces. So, and there's a bit of dust in the bottom, we don't want the dust. And then we're going to see how this works. I did think, so what we'll also do is, if the cake mixture looks a little bit too dry, we might just add an egg to it. So, but then I don't want them to get Choco Hoops to get hoops or loops? Hoops. Other brands are available. I don't want them to go too soft because I want them to keep the shape, because the nice beigey cake mixture colour was nice with the chocolate hoops in it. I was bothered about that bit in the bottom. Now I'm not bothered about that bit in the bottom. So there is just slightly over 7 ounces, which seems like quite a lot, but it'll be fine. So I'll put the recipe in the description, and then we'll mix. And then if it's a little bit too dry, we might just put another egg in later on, which maybe not such a good idea, because it might make the cake too wet and it might just drop a bit. But I don't want to add milk in, and I kind of think maybe an egg would be a better idea. And then we've also kind of got to contend with the fact that the baking powder in the self-raising flour might start to rise the cake, rise the cake mixture a little bit before we bake it, because it's not like I don't know what activates the baking powder. Is it heat or is it moisture? Not entirely sure. Not entirely sure. But anyway, so I've got some gardening to do at my mum's house. So we'll go and do some gardening for a couple of hours, and I'm going to pop out for a bit. So we're back in a few hours to kind of see what's happened with that. If the hoops have softened, how's it taste? Or not. Got a little bit sidetracked So this is about 3 hours soaking. I've just tasted it, but we'll taste it again. So they have softened up. So they're not like a cake, cooked cake kind of consistency, but they are a lot softer than they were. Is this going to be it? I don't know. Do we need a bigger tin? No, I think we'll be okay. So it's firmed up a lot, and that's because the moisture has been sucked out the cake by the Choco Hoops. I keep wanting to say Choco Loops. Is that a Kellogg's? I don't know. I don't buy breakfast cereal. Unless it's free from Lidl. I didn't buy it. It was on offer. Spend a certain amount of money, you get something for free. So that's what I got for free. Right, so into oven. Normal temperature, so 180. We'll get it cooked. We'll see how it turns out, and then we'll dry it out. Hopefully it should. Let's just use fingers, eh? Let's just use fingers to completely press it into the corners. I suppose if it was, see, we're coming into autumn now, so I don't know when I'll put this video out, but we're coming into autumn, so things are cooler, and but it's not cold enough during the daytime just to have the heating on, so things like cake mixture and butter left out are a bit harder than they normally would. Right, so flick my fingers into the oven, we'll cook it, we'll see how it turns out. It's cooked, it's cooled, let's have a look. So it hasn't risen that much, still a little bit warm, but let's have a cut into it and see what it looks like. How we're gonna do this. I don't want to make. So we either go. I think they're going to be a nice size, aren't they? So if we go across like that and then go down, they're going to be a nice dunking size of. Let's get it out in the paper. So it should cut easier this time, since we'd soaked the Choco Hoops, not loops. That's okay, isn't it? So that like that and like that. So I suppose. No, because it doesn't matter that it hasn't risen, does it? No. Right. In half, because we want the centre bit. And then like that. It's still not carving that well, but there we go. Probably could have done to be mixed in a little bit better. How does it taste though? Nice. Oh, those are a bit chewy now, but that'll change when we dry it out. It's nicer. It's nice to start off with, but then it becomes nicer afterwards. You know, it's got a interesting spongy flavour. That's really nice. I think that's going to be even nicer when we dry it out into biscotti. So, slice it, about that, well, finger. I've been guarding against some fingers are dirty. So, less than the finger, depending on the size of your hands. Hands are that big. Dry it out in the oven, 100 degrees, something like that. And then we'll see what they're like when they're completely dried. Right, I've dried them out in the oven. Nice and crispy. Nice and crispy. How do they taste? They're crunchy. They're good. They taste They certainly need to be made with butter. They taste nicer the more you eat them. So the more you move them around the mouth, the nicer they taste. Those are lovely, those. I would, like that, you'd never guess they were Choco Hoops. Why do I want to say loops? Why do I want to say loops? Don't know. But anyway, those are lovely. I'll put the recipe in the description. I shouldn't put that in my mouth though while I'm still talking. They're delicious. A success. Oh, let me finish this biscuit. I think it's a good idea to let the mixture sit for a couple of hours, so the hoops can soak up a little bit of moisture, so they're not as hard. The other ones, there was a marked difference in the texture of the hoops and the cake around it, whereas that way it's more uniform, which kind of is a little bit of intuitive, because you kind of think that something that was baked together would have the same density once it was dried out, but it hasn't. The hoops were more dense, and that's a much nicer way of doing it. Is that? I was thinking, would I have put an egg in? No. I think they're nice. They're nice like that. Biscotti are generally kind of quite dense anyway, so it didn't need that extra egg. It just needed a normal cake mixture. And I think the cake mixture of, what was it, 4? No, it was 4 eggs, wasn't it? So it's 4 eggs, 4 ounces of butter, 4 ounces of sugar, 4 ounces of flour, and then 4 ounces of Choco Hoops is a good ratio. Like it was, I put 7 and a bit in, but 8 would be a good way to remember it. But anyway, pick a cereal of choice that's similar to Choco Hoops and make some lovely biscotti. There we go, a success.